We're 2 years into a pandemic and the supply chain still has not recovered. Seems like every week there's a new shortage of something or other, and all these shortages have deprived consumers of everything from toilet paper to gaming consoles to hand sanitizer to you name it. Today we'll look at the past and see if there's been any other supply shortages that we can learn from. Any parallels that we can find tonight. Supply shortages. Get deep fat fried.
Deep fat fried.
I expect there to be no parallels. I expect there to be no lessons.
None whatsoever. History definitely does not repeat.
I mean, Paul, like, you're really reaching with this episode. I know the episodes me and TJ have made. I mean, look, solid episodes, but I mean, shortages throughout history. I can't believe that.
This was actually ridiculous. TJ's idea, so you can blame TJ for this one.
Oh, really?
TJ shared a document quite a while ago with like some, I think we were all supposed to use it as maybe like a brainstorm document, but he's the only one that ever added to it. And this was one of the things on it. So, if this one sucks, this is TJ's fault. My fault.
You know what?
Your
I love this episode. Classic.
You worthless sack of shit.
Sorry.
You're worthless, TJ.
So we'll start with the earliest days of America, when the idea of an independent United States wasn't even on the table yet culturally. What was on the table in a big way was molasses. This is something that like most people like. Now, TJ, you cook, so you probably got a little molasses around.
Oh yeah,
it's a very common cooking ingredient, but like as a common person, we wouldn't think like, oh God, I'm out of molasses. But back in the day, molasses was the bee's knees, apparently. Molasses was used in everything because it was way cheaper than sugar. But it had to be imported from the West Indies by boat. It's a byproduct, actually. So molasses is a byproduct of refining actual sugar. So it's like the sludge that's left when you've refined sugar. Still has a ton of sugar in it, but it's like overcooked or whatever. But like Vegemite, like that yeast shit we covered that one time, they found a use and a way to repackage the byproduct and sell it to poor people.
Yeah, Elizabeth's finest. You can't afford sugar, but you can afford molasses.
Yeah. So colonists at the time consumed an average of 3 quarts of this stuff a year a piece.
Wow. Okay.
Damn.
So that's like quite a bit of molasses, TJ. I mean, as a cook, you realize you put like a tablespoon of molasses, right?
Yeah, I definitely do not consume that much molasses. I have some, and I use it for a recipe every now and again. But
right.
like, I think
when
I've
a
had the
recipe
same
calls
bottle
for it, you're not using a whole bottle.
I've had a bottle of molasses like this that I've probably had for like 5 years. In fact, I don't know if molasses expires, but I might want to check that.
You might want to look into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
However, because the sweet, sticky substance had to be imported via boat, you got the opportunity for what we like to call a supply chain problem. So Colchester's early history, like many towns in New England, centered around the church parish. So in 1703, the General Court of the Colony of Connecticut ruled that the settlement could organize a church body known as Colchester. As the New England Historical Society explains, folks in New England replaced Christmas with alternative holidays that had a less Roman Catholic flavor. So,
okay.
Very interesting.
Shit, like, this is far too Roman Catholic. We need more Protestant
Christmas. Too Roman Catholic. We need our own holidays. Damn it.
So there were holidays called Training Day. Ominous.
Don't like that.
Yeah. Whoa. Sounds a little crazy. Sounds a
I've
little.
I've seen the movie Training Day, but is it anything like that?
Yeah, it sounds a little Hunger Games-ish, probably. I don't know. I really don't want to celebrate that. And Commencement Day, which sounds like a boring holiday.
Yeah, it's like,
we commenced the harvest today. Yeah, it's like, what is this shit?
But here's one that I do like. They had several Thanksgivings a year.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right. They were smart about that.
Come on.
Fair enough.
I mean, come on.
No wonder they needed a day to train.
Yeah, we need to bring that shit back, dude. Like 7 Thanksgivings a year. Like, ready for your the midsummer Thanksgiving? Like, yes, I am.
I don't know if it was 7, but I did. It's several. So you know, probably some people
7.
had 4, 5, 6, 7 Thanksgivings a year. There were holidays. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Thanksgiving back then was sort of an omnibus celebration that would be announced to mark any sort of natural or secular event. These were often proclaimed as a pseudo Christmas, since they couldn't have the real thing. And in November 1705, pseudo Christmas was ruined by a shortage of molasses.
God damn it. How can this happen?
The story is that the Connecticut town of Colchester postponed its Thanksgiving feast for a week. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving's off for a week. Push it back away. Dude, it would cause mass chaos. Mass nationwide chaos. You can't have. I don't get my turkey for a week. I don't get my mashed potatoes for a week. My cranberry sauce for a week. I don't get my pumpkin pie for a week. What is this nonsense?
Dude, look at the crust on that pumpkin pie, dude. That's like a serious crust.
Well, that's a homemade
legit
crust. That's not a store-bought prefab crust. That's a fucking real,
think
genuine
about
pie.
that, guys. Everything from scratch back, and there's no box shit. You can't go buy a box of fuck all, dude. Nah, dude, this is the real Thanksgiving.
So they did this. They postponed it because of this molasses shortage. There simply could be no Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie. And molasses was a critical, and still is a critical ingredient to making a good homemade pumpkin pie. The pumpkin pie came to symbolize. So I guess pumpkin pie rather than turkey was more the centerpiece in the old Thanksgiving. It's kind of become maybe I'll have a pumpkin pie if there's room. You know what I mean? I might have a slice of. Now it's more about the turkey. But back in the day, like the turkey was the side attraction to get to this pumpkin pie. And when you can't make a pumpkin pie, you can't have Thanksgiving.
Fuck no.
It came to symbolize the New World bounty celebrated by Thanksgiving. By the time Colchester discovered its molasses shortage in 1705, pumpkin pie had been a well-established dessert for at least half a century in the area. The weather turned unusually frigid for the Connecticut Valley town that fall. In mid-October, a terrible cold snap lasted for 3 days, followed by mild weather, and then a blast of even colder weather. The river froze. A frigid wind blew, and a storm blanketed Colchester under 3 feet of snow. Because the river rarely froze so early, the settlers hadn't laid in winter provisions that usually got shipped in from Norwich and New London. Of course, molasses wasn't the only supply halted by the frozen river, but it had the most cultural significance in that holiday season, so it remains a sorrowful foodie legend to this day.
Yeah, it's like, soon we will dine on 1,000,000 pumpkin pies as far as the eye can see.
Soon, any second now, that old boat'll come blowing down around the bend of the river, bringing barrels of molasses. Pumpkin pies as far as the eye can see. And then all of a sudden you wake up the next morning, the river's frozen solid. You're like, oh, fuck.
Oh, man. Fuck
Nobody's
this. No pumpkin pie, no molasses.
Man,
can't do it.
I wanted to believe.
Pseudo Christmas is ruined.
That I wanted to believe, TJ, that back in the day they didn't have to deal with this kind of shit. Looks like they did, though.
Same fucking world, Scotty. Everything. There's nothing new under the sun. Let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about the American Revolution. Now let's move forward in time a little bit.
Oh, shortage of liberty, huh? Yeah.
Yes, well, there was a shortage of liberty, a shortage of that fiery American colonial spirit, that drive to explore. We were constrained in many ways as colonists, but there was a paper shortage back in the day during the American Revolution that I had no idea about. I'd never heard about this, but it makes sense. So during and leading up to the American Revolution, the use of paper in newspapers, books, and elsewhere ramped up significantly. Tons of pamphlets used to be a big deal. People would write these short little basically short story books and hand them out on cheap paper, and people would pass them around. And
right. Well, this is like the internet. That's like the internet message board of the day, right? You go around, and you fucking shove your weird pamphlet in someone's hand. Read this.
And pretty much
the real truth. What's going on right now?
And pretty much anybody that bought the necessary equipment could start a newspaper back in the day. There was no like established, this is the newspaper of note and record. It was if you thought there was a gap in the newspaper coverage, you could just be like, Aries fucking newspaper. You know what I mean? Whatever. So that's kind of cool. But
Mayor of Boston caught fucking a goat. He was.
Yeah,
all right.
Goat.
So the Stamp Act of 1765 required that all material published within the colonies be printed on stamped paper, thus increasing the already inflated cost of paper. Part of the motivation for this was to limit the colonies using independent paper currency and also to limit their use of these pamphlets and religious screeds and newspapers and shit. They wanted to make paper more scarce so that they couldn't communicate as well with one another and couldn't like have a crazy idea like, you know what? Maybe we make our own pound. We'll call it something crazy like the dollar. They didn't want that.
Yeah. That's no good for them.
So when colonial assemblies passed non-importation agreements in 1769, which followed the passage of the Stamp Act in 1765 and the Townshend Act in 1767, the shortage soon became less of like just kind of an annoyance and became serious. The colonists had never manufactured enough paper for their own uses, and when British naval blockades prevented their imports, the problem, spread to pretty much everybody. Several states poured funds into the expansion of the industry, and some introduced rules by which trained paper makers and mill workers could exempt from military duty, just as long as they kept their brand new nation in that sweet paper parchment. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be a soldier, but you got to basically be a soldier making paper all day. So go do it.
Yeah, if you don't want to risk your ass on the front lines, then stay here and make paper, which is a pretty sweet deal. So
I'll make that shit, dude. Go to war, make paper. I'll make some paper, dude.
Yeah, I'll take that deal. And the paper wasn't just for printing screeds against the king and propaganda and shit. It was also essential for war. Army officers on the Revolution front complained that the lack of paper forced them to write their reports on whatever they could find. So obviously, like, there are no phones, there's no wireless or wired communication at that point. So the only way to like send a message from the field to another, battalion or whatever is to write a note and give it to somebody and have them take it. And when there's no paper, how do you fucking communicate? You know what I mean? Which was another reason behind the naval blockades and stuff that the British set up. They were hoping to starve us of information and starve the people of the ability to, communicate with one another and all that shit. So the problem became even more critical on the battlefield, where paper was an even more essential ingredient of war. Soldiers needed it to wrap their black powder used in firing the colonial musket. Bullets could not be fired without paper. And pictured here are a few samples of these paper cartridges that were used, called a wad. A want of paper led to patriots sometimes raiding collections of books to rip them up and use them for this. So unfortunate but true. But hey, dude, any port in a storm, right? You need paper to fire your guns. Those books, as treasured and valuable as they may be in terms of the knowledge inside of them, they're pretty much more useful at that point to send a musket ball flying at somebody. So understandable, I guess.
What you got to do, what you got to do.
Until the end of the revolution. Now, I'm sure you guys would love to know that after we defeated the Brits, immediately this problem went away. As soon as America got in control, no more paper shortages.
Yes,
everything was fine. So yeah, that's the end of that one. Just kidding. It went on and on.
What?
Mechanized paper making, such as this Hollander beater here, by the 1800s helped to make printed materials cheaper, but the shortage of raw materials kept going on and on. The lack of sufficient rags hobbled the spread of printing until the manufacture of paper from wood pulp was perfected in the mid to late 19th century. So, yep, all paper used to be parchment made with like cloth, cotton cloth, basically. So a lot of people forget that. Like, they think, well, why didn't they just chop down some trees and make some paper? They didn't know how to do that shit yet. They hadn't perfected wood pulp paper yet. And so, yeah, there was no paper. There was rags were in such a demand, and I think we've talked about this on an episode before, but just to remind people would raid Egyptian heritage sites and shit because there were so many mummies wrapped in this really high quality rags that made really good parchment that they became way more useful. Like the rags that wrapped them were more useful than their bodies being interred in the ground.
In the river.
Yeah. So the price of rags in the USA had doubled by the mid 1800s, and experimentation to find
price of rags.
Yeah, dude, rags. That's why like people used to work as things called rag pickers, where like they would go, and this is in Great Britain as well. They would go around, and their whole job was to try and find scraps of like old shirts, cloth, any kind of rag.
I was thinking about a reality show on this episode of Rag Wars.
Like, you know, the rich dude upstairs in the apartment upstairs blew a load into a rag and threw it out the window, and then you'd be there the next morning to go, oh, that's a fine nut rag right there. That'll fetch you a hefty price. You know, like rags were a big deal. So by the late 1800s, newspapers had switched over from paper made from rags to paper made from this wood pulp, and the overall price of paper fell through the floor, thankfully. Went from 25 cents a pound in the 1860s to 2 cents a pound or less by the 1900s. Ooh. So, you know, I mean, it was necessary, and it was less of a like a convenience and more of a everybody needs to have access to paper. And so it's
really, I mean, like in a lot of ways, that shortage was actually drove innovation a little bit. So
definitely, absolutely, yeah, because it was just there. You know, it was a constant problem even after.
It was like whoever solves this problem is going to make a lot of money. So
yeah.
TJ, this is your nightmare. This is the atheist nightmare right here.
No,
I know. TJ, I was going to warn you before you moved on, but you moved on too quickly.
I mean, yeah, content warning, please. Jesus.
I was going to give you a trigger warning on this one, but I didn't know this existed. But I just wanted to prepare you, TJ, for a really dark tale.
Look at all those other fruits, TJ, but not a single banana to be found.
All of them round. None of them the right shape to shove in an ass.
Come on now.
During World War II, a large number of
plantains. Tell me there was still plantains.
No, not a plantain, not a banana, TJ. So in World War II, a large number of cargo ships were requisitioned by the military to help with the war effort, to fill in the gaps, to transport military stuff, etc. While these ships were still allowed to transport their goods on the homebound route, they'd be loaded down with materiel. This arrangement, referred to as Bananas North, General Cargo South, didn't exactly fool the opposing forces. They soon figured out what was going on and began targeting even the smallest of banana boats. As a result, the United Fruit Company, as Chiquita was then known, lost more than 20 of its ships over the course of the war. So on November 9th, 1940, the Minister of Food, Lord Woolton, ordered a complete ban on the import of bananas. The sudden scarcity of the soft, sweet, tropical fruit was a devastating blow to Britons. Wartime songs memorialized the elusive banana. Dance hall favorite Harry Roy belted out, "When can I have a banana again?"
Oh, no.
London's Tin Pan Alley endlessly covered the American Review hit, "Yes, we have no bananas," and the novelty song, "I've never seen a straight banana." So, like, the whole culture just immediately, like, all the songs were about bananas.
You know why? Because a lot of people stick bananas up their ass, dude.
A humble banana.
Because you think they were all craving these bananas so they could fucking chop them up on top of their cereal or eat them for breakfast or whatever the fuck.
I know now. Now that I've met you, I know now what they really wanted. Because for me, I think I could live without bananas for a fucking year, man.
Yeah, but like, especially back then when, like, think about it, like, you can't, especially if you're like, a dude, you don't necessarily want to go somewhere and buy like fucking whatever the 1940s version of a dildo is, but you go in the store and buy a banana, no one even fucking looks at you sideways.
Yeah, you're just buying a couple bananas, that's all.
I wish I could tell you,
eat some for lunch later.
I wish I could tell you,
my ass. What are you talking about?
I wish I could tell you, TJ, that this didn't get darker, but it does.
No.
Most children at the time didn't even really see their first real banana until well after the war. The British people were so desperate for bananas that they tried to make.
How are they supposed to develop their confused feelings for it if they don't see it at a young age?
Right. They were so desperate for banana that they tried to make these thing called mock bananas.
That sounds horrible.
A truly sad substitute.
Ugh.
It was boiled parsnips flavored with banana extract and colored with yellow food dye. Predictably, they didn't taste anywhere near like a banana, and you couldn't stuff it in your ass. Basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm assuming this Twinkie here is like one of the banana substitutes that came up, or
this is yes. Now, a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't know this, but Twinkies started as a banana flavored treat.
Really?
They were not just straight plain vanilla. They were a vanilla cake wrapped around a banana flavored vanilla cream in the middle, and they were known for their banana. No, go ahead, Scotty.
I've never thought of, like, as someone who loves Twinkies, I've never thought of them as tasting like bananas. Maybe they no longer do that, but if they did, like, this is how I don't even know why you would think
the Twinkie was popularized as a banana cream filled treat. And it used bananas in its cream. They date back to 1930. So the Twinkie was invented in 1930, a time when manufacturers were probably forced to make them out of actual ingredients, right? Since there was no like hydrosodamine glucose or whatever laying around. They had to actually like bake some stuff. Since today's synthetic substitutes had not been invented, originally the cream filling was made out of banana, which of course was impossible to continue production during the banana shortage. And what was the poor Twinkie company to do? They simply replaced banana filling with vanilla filling. They just took the banana out and made it just a plain vanilla cream filling.
So the Twinkie was the course of the Twinkie was forever changed by the banana shortage. You're just like, all right.
To this day,
fuck it, it's no longer banana flavored then.
To this day, you might have grown up. Think about this. It's weird. As a kid, going, man, I fucking love those banana Twinkies, man. Oh, God, they're so good, man. Nothing else tastes the same as a good old Twinkie. You might always associate Twinkies with banana. But because of this one period of shortage, the entire history of people's love for this delicious, disgusting pastry has been forever changed. You've never actually had a real Twinkie. You've never had a pre-banana shortage Twinkie, TJ.
I know. That's kind of sad.
So when there have, by the way, been a few limited edition revivals of the old flavor of Twinkies, but they never last long. Twinkie keeps it close to their chest. I think Scotty might have died too, by the way. He's been either that or he's ascended to a new plane of stonedness.
Look at him. He's so
I aspire to reach someday. Scotty has either become the Buddha.
I'm gonna make him big on mine.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, wait, no, he's back.
He's back. He's back. Okay. Yeah, I was going to,
right.
Wow. He did. He did ascend to the state of Buddha.
Dude, I'm Buddha. What are you guys talking about? I'm Buddha.
Holy
I
shit.
have ascended to a higher realm of existence.
You guys started cutting out, so I was like, I'm just hoping it's going to come back, so I'm just not going to say anything, because I don't want it to be garbled or weird.
Gotcha.
When the bananas did come back, it was to great fanfare and celebration. I think I got a video that we can take a look at.
Yes, we have some bananas. You can shove them up your ass.
We have banana.
So people were stoked, man. People were jazzed.
They're flying in the banana. The first shipment of them.
The hungry anuses of America's homosexuals and bi-curious males will no longer be starved for that delicious yellow fruit. Yay! Woo!
It began last October with a crop of preliminary posters. Now the bananas are here in person, and at Avonmouth Docks they're welcomed by Bristol's Lord Mayor.
The first cargo of bananas that has arrived at this port since the war.
He's going to pick out the finest one to put in his ass tonight.
Yeah. Yep. I join the Russian gentlemen saying,
as your minister of food,
I can't wait to shove 2 of these bananas up my ass tonight.
Yes.
And simultaneously.
Yes.
Indeed. My ass is so hungry for bananas, I might even try for 3. Yeah.
3 bananas. No man could live past such a test.
I want to fucking go to the alternate universe where fucking everything is just about, like, I want to shove things in my butt. and that's like all of history. And I'd be like, wow, I really relate to this reality, and I'd just be there, and it'd be cool.
Prelude of many
But no, I
more
live in
to
this
come.
shitty one where you're apparently
And the
weird for wanting to stick a
prosperity
banana in your ass.
And development of our trade will
Whatever.
continue for many long years to be.
Will you accept the canned bananas, please?
Would you like one?
Yes, please.
That's splendid. Splendid. That's
Thank you.
splendid.
Ain't she a little young for that? Come on.
A committee of banana tasters make a dockside test.
Isn't it lovely?
They're of the finest
kids.
quality.
What's that?
Some lucky ass
That
kids,
dude,
dude.
that dude definitely shoves bananas up his ass, by the way. I can tell just by the look in his eyes.
And the way he said it so lovingly, they have the finest quality. Never have I seen a prostate tickler, banana like this.
I don't normally ingest them this way, but first time for everything.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about bananas, isn't it? They feel good going in one way and taste good going in the other. What?
That's why they got the peel, so, it's
That's
safe,
right.
It's a barrier from booty bacteria.
Yeah, we don't have to watch the whole thing here, but
okay.
basically the bananas came back to great fanfare, great celebration. People were stoked. Most of the bananas were green and unripe, which meant they needed to be stored for a week before being distributed all over the country. They were earmarked as under 18-year-olds as a special austerity era treat, as children tended to be the ones that were the most stoked about bananas.
Bananas. They didn't
Everybody
have
loved
all the
them.
cool. They didn't have as much candy and shit back then, So
Right. So a popular wartime song by the band leader Harry Roy, when he had asked, "When can I have a banana again?" And the arrival of the Talapa was a signal, unfortunately a premature one, of the end of shortages and the return of the good times. Many children had to be shown how to eat a banana because they'd never seen one, like an ice cream cone, rather than because apparently kids would try and eat it like a corn on the cob.
Stupid bastards.
Yeah. So the banana went on to divide the East and West during the Cold War, for it was rarely available behind the Iron Curtain. Nikita Khrushchev boasted that the Soviets could produce anything except bananas. And the Berlin Wall came down. West Germans pointedly threw bananas at the East Berliners pouring into the West. Despite being frowned upon by today's low-carb diets, the banana is still the third best-selling item in British supermarkets, behind only petrol and lottery tickets. So there you go.
You need some
right.
gas. You need some lottery
I
tickets.
I never understood the significance of the humble banana, but now I do.
How do you respect the banana, TJ? Respect it.
I mean, I've always loved the banana, but I've never respected the banana until now.
Yeah, me neither. So this one is maybe still a little raw,
Oh, shit.
because as you all have to remember, not too long ago, shit paper was kind of a commodity that was hard to come by.
Oh, yeah, that's true. The toilet paper shortage.
And
Not the first time that's happened, I guess, huh?
yeah, well, I wanted to know if there had ever been anything like it before, and it turns out kind of. So there was the 1973 so-called toilet paper shortage. Now, this one, it's really more of like a scare than a shortage. And it's very closely mirrors the one in 2020, which really, if you look at it, was more of a scare than a shortage as well. It was panic buying, not necessarily a shortage, because people, or either panic buying or capitalistic buying. So like most scares, the toilet paper fiasco all started with an unsubstantiated rumor. In November of 1973, several news agencies reported a tissue shortage in Japan. Initially, the release went unnoticed, and nobody seemed to put much stock in it, save for one Harold V. Froelich. On December 11, 1973, Harold V. Froelich, a 41-year-old Republican congressman of a heavily forested district in Wisconsin, put out a press release warning the public about a possible toilet paper shortage. The U.S. may soon face a serious shortage of toilet paper within a few months. We hope we don't have to ration toilet tissue And then he went on to say, a toilet paper shortage is no laughing matter. It is a problem that will potentially touch every American's asshole.
Fuck.
I added the asshole.
Yeah.
He said it will touch every American.
In the asshole.
On their asshole. Yeah, literally. All up and down their balls and butt crack, too.
Yeah.
And vagina, if you happen to have one of those.
Oh, shit. Did Johnny Carson help perpetuate the scare? Is that what happened?
He kind of did, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Froelich issued a statement after receiving complaints from constituents about a shortage of pulp paper. While this posed no immediate threat to America's supply of toilet paper, the Wisconsin congressman was worried about the potential of the problem. The story was then picked up by media outlets and eventually landed in Johnny Carson's Tonight Show monologue one evening as he told the audience, we've got all sorts of shortages these days, but have you heard the latest? I'm not kidding. I saw it in the papers. There's an acute shortage of toilet paper. And he was, kind of throwing it out there as a joke, and everybody kind of laughed at it. But 1973 was a time of shortages, particularly due to the OPEC oil embargo against the U.S., and Carson's audience found the joke more frightening. His home audience found it more frightening than funny. In the following weeks, stores were flooded with customers looking to buy up the last remaining roll of toilet paper since stores were not prepared. Does it sound familiar? For a sudden rush of sales, many shoppers found themselves staring at empty shelves, which reinforced their idea that America was truly running out of toilet paper.
It's all gone.
The false alarm sent Carson's audience of almost 20 million running. Absolute madness ensued. Millions of Americans swarmed grocery stores, hoarded toilet paper, like it was chaos.
So basically, they worried about a shortage and they create the shortage.
They
because
self-fulfilled the prophecy, basically.
Yeah, they did.
Company officers and industry leaders told the public to remain calm. Store owners ordered astronomical quantities of toilet paper and set limits of 2 rolls a customer, but nobody would play by the rules. Everybody was like sending in every family member to get their 2 rolls. You know what I mean? It was like everybody's gaming it, and there was a secondary market. So anyway, while Carson's comments became a self-fulfilling prophecy, the comedian did try and convince his viewers that America's supply of toilet paper was not in danger, observing that, I don't want to be remembered as a man who created a false toilet paper scare. I just picked up the item from the paper and enlarged it somewhat. There is no shortage. A month later, Walter Cronkite set the record straight. The Scott Paper Company, citing panic buying on the retail level, said today that it is implementing the allocation system for the national distribution of toilet tissue. A Scott spokesman said unfounded rumors of the shortage had caused excessive demand at retail outlets. So basically, like, the most trusted people in the world had to go in front of people and go like, look, this was not a shortage. This was just people got freaked out and bought all the toilet paper.
Yeah.
And it was like
scarcity does that.
It was 4 months. 4 months people were like rage buying toilet paper and causing this shortage that wasn't really a shortage for no reason before Walter Cronkite and the rest of the news media could calm everybody down.
Like,
chill out, everybody.
Chill.
Just start wiping your ass as usual, and there will be toilet paper on the shelves again. We promise.
Well, if you think that someone's going to run out, it just reinforces itself because it's so easy. If like you see like a store that's plenty of stuff, like whatever the item it is, like okay. But if you see like there's just a couple left, it's like I better buy this now or I'm going to run out.
Well, think about all. It's not even just that too, but like think about all the people who are buying the toilet paper because they're afraid it's going to run out, but also B, the people who are buying the toilet paper because they're like, ooh, maybe this is a money making opportunity.
And it was just like in the early days of the pandemic, the early weeks of the pandemic, there were people that had huge truckloads of toilet paper that they had bought by driving all over the country and getting as much as they could. And then they would sell it at a huge premium. So there was a huge black market for shit paper. The American public realized there had never been a shortage to begin with. Rather, it had been artificially created by pop culture frenzy. But only after 4 months of living without shit paper for a lot of people. So pretty stupid.
Just wash your asses, people. Get a bidet. Wash your butt.
Yeah, but there you go. That's some shortages. I had fun doing the episode. If you liked it, let me know in the comments. If you disliked it, let me know in the comments so I can ban your stupid ass from existence. And I guess we'll see you
There should be a shortage of you.
Yeah, there's soon to be a shortage of dissenters in the comments section.
What we always like to hear. Ban them all.
2022 will be the year that we literally drown you in content. 156 standard 30-minute episodes of Deep Fat Fried, 52 long-form episodes of Deep Fat Fried, 37 episodes of Dank D&D, live episodes of Onion Nuggets every Wednesday, new Cinema for Cynics reviews, Fighting Boys, Abandon Hope, Hideology, Ask Hollywood Love, and The Grease Trap. And even if you manage to watch it all, we still have a massive back catalog of old content that's going to blow your mind. We have got metric tons of old commentaries, grease traps, mountains of Deep Fat Fried episodes. We've got oceans of flash fries. We got valleys of Abandon Hope and Hideology and other miscellaneous content you could watch for weeks, if not months, straight. And with all this content, both new and old, we have realized that it is time to simplify our Patreon. Yes! Right now, our Patreon is split into a $10 tier and a $5 tier. Now, this has long aggrieved us because our philosophy in this company is that simplicity is best. How do we create so much content? We keep it simple. We keep it streamlined. We commit to a process and we constantly fine-tune that process. Anything that wastes time, we get rid of. Having two patron tiers is not in line with our philosophy. So, we've decided to unify into a single tier at the price point of $7. Join the Pessimist Productions Patreon today because we are looking very forward to entertaining you all in 2022.
Deep Fat Fried. Deep Fat Fried. Deep Fat Fried. Deep Fat Fried.